tell you a little bit about the process. We wanted to make some VR, really high quality VR for you. So I was lucky having still some money on an account at the university. So we bought a really high quality 360 camera for making VR films. And I went to Tautra making some films, and taking the shots was only the start of this, because it has been really heavy to make these 360 high quality films. Yesterday my computer was running 20 hours just to making 5 minutes with film, and then the storing on the computer failed because of one frame fail in the film, and then it was only to start again. Jakob's computer was getting so hot that he temporarily put it into the fridge and doing the managing of the computer via time viewer with the computer in the fridge. So here has been a really great creativity and hard work to try to give you a little bit of what we should have seen on Tautra today and tomorrow. Now I'll try to share the screen with you. Can you now see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, that's good. I'll try to go back here. Yeah. This first half an hour will be a sort of preparation for the Tautra excursion, now the Tautra VR excursion. I'll give some administration information first. You have been very clever muting all your microphones, but also now I will, in the next picture, ask you to make connection with a peer mate. We have been making peer groups, and we want you during this first session to have contact with your peer mate to discuss some small tasks during my presentation. And to do that, you could use different channels, Messenger, Facebook, etc., etc. But my experience, I don't know if that is on all computers, but and also for Jakob's computer, we had an experience that if we opened video and sound on another Windows window using Messenger or Facebook or things, it disturbed the Teams connection. So we really ask you to make this pair connection through your phone or tablet, not use the same computer, because then suddenly the Teams system could break down and you would see nothing or hear nothing of what is going on from me. So don't try to use the microphone and the camera for doing two things at the same time. Yeah, that was what I said now. Try to make the connection with your peer mate through other channel. It will be now approximately 40 minutes of presentation with tasks, and then we will start on the trip going from the airport to Tautra. It will be a sort of guided trip. I was now just letting my colleague Magne, which will be one of the advisors for the big group sessions later today. He wanted to come into our Teams room, so I had to let him in. That was why I stopped talking a little bit. But then we will have this trip from the airport to Tautra. It is a Google Expedition trip, but we will guide you through it. And then you can, if you want, look at it afterwards. It's a lot of more information that I will give you on the guided trip. Okay, then to a little bit of no, first the groups. Please write down which peer mate you will go to work together with, and the group number, and also if you are in the greater group A, B, or C. There are 3 big groups, and in the big groups there are peer groups, or group 4 is 3 persons.
And please give a sign now as early as possible if you have problems contacting these persons, or make a note in the chat. And if it's a real problem for some of you that do not have a phone or something, make a note now and we'll try to figure it out. You could also be 3 persons in a group, and we could also have local groups, but we would like to have them international as far as it is possible.
Yeah, and if it really fails, you do the small tasks by yourself. Think that you are discussing with some other in your head and just make small notes. It's not critical that you are connected to the peer group now in the first session. It is more critical after lunch. So do as Jakob said, give a notice on the chat if you have trouble with that. Okay, then we go to a little bit of theory. When we are going to organize field courses, what is the most important thing? Discuss yourself for 3 minutes and write down some keywords, and then write one important moment you want to share with all of us in the chat box. And Jakob will try to pick them up. So now thinking for 2-3 minutes and write down important keywords. What is the most important when you want to organize a field trip or a field course with your students?
Jardar, it's a question in the chat from Selena. Could you answer?
Sorry, the bottom part of the chat box was covered with the picture of myself, so I had to move the small picture of myself. Then now I see what is coming of new messages. Sorry. Yeah, if you now have one important moment, start to put it on the chat so we can pick up what you have been thinking about. have you tried to write down and make a system of what is coming in?
Yes, I'm writing it into a Word document.
Can you show it?
Yes. One moment. It's still coming in.
I'll take down my screen. I think you have come up with a lot of very good moments there. I can see that many of them, or all of them, of course, could be put into the what we call the didactical relation model. You have to think about a lot of things when you prepare a lesson, and of course when you prepare also for a field course. And we can see here Jakob has put up its planning time, student activities, relevance, and we have to think about the weather. Very important to plan for, really for, at least in Norway, for all sort of weather. I used to say I never go on a summer holiday in Norway without my wool underwear. For you on Malta, that could be a little bit crazy, but I've been very often on the coast of Norway in the middle of July with only 8 degrees, and you really need some extra clothes. Then, of course, safety, and prepare for the unexpected. Connect what you see to what you have learned, yeah. And of course, planning the time consumed. Location, explanation of the area of the spot, yes, selecting the spots, of course, not to lose somebody during field time. And I think this last moment is quite important, and it is important connected to doing field trips at all, because some countries with very strict rules for insurance, I know that a lot of teachers are afraid to taking their kids outside the schoolyard, because if something happens, you need so high school insurance, and the school could be pursued. So in some countries, maybe especially looking to USA, field trips are maybe not that common that in Norway, where we really want our kids and our younger students to be outside all through the year, skiing in winter time, picking berries in the autumn, learning about the plants in the forest, and looking at all the spring plants coming up at this time of the year. And then price, costs with field trips, then it is important, one of the things I'll talk about in some few seconds. Try to make field trips very close to your school. I think now, Jakob, I will take down the shared screen, and I'll share my screen again.
Yes.
There we are. We are back to my PowerPoint. You can see now organizing field courses, Jakob.
Yes.
Yeah. So what theory says about organizing field courses? We have two very clever ladies in Norway now working for 15 years with research on field courses, and they have made a sort of guide now how to make effective field courses. And some of the points from there is preparation before field course, then you do the field course, and then reflective post work. This is not brand new. If you go into literature, you find the moments from here in literature 10 years ago, but they have now done quite a lot of research around this, and developed it with a lot of more bullet points for detailed planning of effective field courses. So here is from working with apps, like Project Jakob has been working a lot with the last few years, trying to use different apps in front, during, and after field course. having apps for preparation, like you got the story map now for the Tautra field course. Sorry, you can't use the survey 123 or other apps now at Tautra. So you have to imagine how you could have recognized all the plants, the birds, the animals we are going to look at, how you could have put them into an app with the GPS coordinates if you had been out at Tautra today. And then after field course, you can you can use a lot of tools to work with the data afterwards. It could be map tools, or it could be different sort of presentation tools. It could also be photos, like we had a workshop in Utrecht with using photos. A little bit more into the recommendations from Remmen and Frøyland. They think it's important that we use situated content for the field trips. And also they have a lot of results showing that if you use field areas close to your school, it's easier and of course cheaper to go out and use this biotope or geotope or area more than once. Traditional field trips in Norway was very often once in the autumn, once in the spring, taking a bus to some exotic place. But if you could have an area close to your school, maybe you could visit it every month or even every week, and you could get a more integrated fieldwork into what you are doing in the classroom. Then try to focus on one field task at a time, but not one field task at a time as a sort of recipe, as when you bake or cook in your kitchen, but try to let it still be inquiry based and let the students have different or limited numbers of alternatives, so they feel that they still have some possibility to make choices, not only use a traditional recipe. Then organize a follow-up in three steps. A learning task requiring students to interpret their field observations in order to make decisions or own decisions. And also try to let them make a sort of end product. During this session today or the next session after lunch, or I don't remember just when we do it, but we will challenge you also to make your own small Google expedition as a sort of end product of what we are going to look at Tautra. And then you are going in smaller groups than this plenary to present what you have done with your end product tomorrow. If you remember back to Utrecht, I think Tim had a look at this, what we call TPAC model. And here I've put the field course excursions with use of VR into the TPAC model. So you can see how to use the VR is stressed in the center of the model. And then we have all the factors we need to take into account, connected to the pedagogic, to the knowledge of the pure technology. You need to know how to take up the VR film. Then you have the really content knowledge down on the right corner. If it's no content, only technology, you won't learn what you have expected. And then you also need the content-specific didactics, which is in between the pedagogic and the content. Some models called PCK, pedagogical content knowledge. Another word is the more specific didactics connected to the specific subject or team you're working with. What we are going to look at the field trip to Tautra is among others, some ducks, some birds on tetra. And what to look for? Here I'll try to take you through a few pictures, not trying to learn you all the birds at tetra, but a little bit more systematic entrance to how to look at species. It could be plants, it could be animals, ducks, or whatever. And what to look for to try to get a system of this. Some of you might have biology as part of your studies, some of you have not. So because of that, I give you a very, very short introduction to how to try to figure out this huge amount of species that could be possible to look at if you go into an area with great diversity. So if you look here at the 4 ducks here, they are of quite different groups. The 2 upper ducks, the common eider, and this common golden eye duck. You see the white spot close between the eye and the bill of this duck. It's very easy to see on long distance. But the point with these 2 ducks is that the back part of the duck is going down into the water. If you try to follow the curve on the upper part of the duck going into the water by the tail, it is going down. If you look at the 3rd duck, which is the mallard, the very common birds in nearly every park all around Europe, you see that the tail and the back part of the duck is really going upwards. So it's very easy to choose between these 2 groups of ducks. The upper one, which is a diver duck, picking up its food from the bottom of the sea, and this grass duck, we call it, which is picking the food just below the surface of the water. It's very funny if you have this duck in your hand, or if you have an exemplar in the museum. You can see also it's a little bit difference on one of the toes of the duck. The one going swimming down maybe 10 meters down through the ocean. He has what we call his small toe, has a sort of skin flap, which is much bigger than on the mallard, which is the grass duck. And then you have on the bottom a duck which is more similar to the diving duck on the top, the back part going down when you see it on the water. But if you look at the bill, it is nearly like a needle. So even on very, very long distance, you can see this very pointing bill of this red-breasted merganser, or what we call the group fishing ducks. They are going quite deep, picking fish, and they have this very dedicated bill for this. So even if this looks very complicated, you can try from the beginning to make a sort of system, and then if you go out with a quite normal spec, looking maybe just 8 times increasing, you can quite easily see if it is one of these 3 groups of ducks. So this could be one thing to try to look for some big sort of what we call it big picture signs of the species. So you think it's difficult? Yeah, yes or no, it could be, but there are also some more help here. If you want to work, for example, with birds close to your school, a rule which I learned when I was a student, and I've seen also later on that I know from Norway, but maybe it could be a little bit different from countries with a richer diversity. But a rule is that the 10 most common species in an area, you find 90% of the observed birds will be one of these 10 species. So if you learn your students the 10 most common birds you see outside the window of the classroom, and then ask the students to go out and make observations, you could be quite sure that 90% of what they observe is among these 10 species, and that makes it much easier than looking into the field bird field guide, which for Norway is more than 300 breeding species, and going down to Middle Europe it could be more than 500 or even more. And if you go to the Amazonas or somewhere, it's really huge. Then help number 2 could be to look at the biotope. If you are near the seaside at Tautra, it's not so common to see the owls or the falcons or the birds breeding in the forest. And opposite, if you go to the forest or to the high mountains, you have special birds growing there. Here's an example with the seaweeds. I'll talk a little bit more about the seaweeds, both on the VR films and later on today and tomorrow. But here you can see a sort of mapping of the different tide zones, and the seaweed is quite nicely put down a sort of continuum from the upper part where the land is free, maybe 20 hours a day, and to the lower part, which is into the sea nearly 24 hours a day. So here, if you walk on the beach and know about this could be a help for you. You will nearly never find the seaweed growing in the sea 24 hours a day in the upper zone, which is without water for 20 hours. They could be dead there. You could find them on the shore, black and bad and smelling because they are dead and the waves are taking them into the shore. But really growing and living on the rock or on a stone, you quite nicely could follow this continuum. So that could be a help number 2. Look at the biotope you are in. And then you could have keys. And by keys, I think about a sort of systematic key, which botanists especially are very fond of. But if you want to work with this with kids and students, it could be nice to start with something which is quite common to everybody. For example, screws and nuts and nails. Or you could do the same with washing stuff in your bathroom, shampoo, hand soap, hard cleaning soap for the car, and so on. Or you could do it in your kitchen using all the white powders, sugar, the dry yeast, the salt, and all sort of white powder. And you could try to make a system, and then we talk about a dichotomous key. We try to only have 2 different decisions to do at each step. So here, if we start with this nut here and try to use the key, the item has a hole. Then you should go to point number 2 in the key. Look if the nut has a cap or without the cap. And here we can see the item has a cap. Then it's a cap nut. If it had been the number 7 without a cap, then we had to go to number 3 and see if it had a wing, number 10, or without a wing. And so you go on through the key. And making keys like this is quite easy also with children in the lower part of the school. And I also do this with my teacher students as an introduction to, as I'll show you on the next picture, keys which you can have to, for example, leaves or flower plants or animals on the beach. So keys is a very nice help when you want to go into this really huge area of trying to find out what is the name of the different species in the environment. Okay, this was a short introduction to the content of the species, which we are going to work a little bit with in the Google expedition and the VR sessions later today. But then before ending this theoretical part, I think we go into the values of auto learning. So I can see now we are really going out of time here, but I think we will make this again just as a thinking, not go into some room with others now. We will do that later anyway. So try to think what is the most important values of auto learning. Just think for 1 minute, and if you have some few or one keyword per person, put it on the text box. But the most important now is to think what is values of learning outside. Yeah, Tomas? Can't hear you. Did you have something to say?
No way, sorry, man. It was just a joke from our students. But
okay, that's
they
good.
concluded finally.
Okay, I can see here that it's now putting make theory visible, respect and valorate the nature, applied learning, turn theory into practice. Yeah, all this is very important. I dreamt this. Theory is about what is the values of auto learning. I put at the end of this PowerPoint are some literature references if you want to go into this. But here, as you said, put content in context, connect theory and practice, and social skills. So you are just into the main points of the theory with your thoughts here. Very, very, very good. Then I think now we have been working really hard. It's 2 minutes to 12 and you need 1 hour for lunch break. So I'll pick up this, what is the most important part of the ESD after lunch. So you can think about it during the lunch. And if you want to test the connection with your peer mate, that could be very, very nice. Maybe you could have a lunch chat with your peer mate now. Jakob, do you want to say something before we leave for lunch?
I think the lunch is scheduled for 12:50, but it's okay to take it now. That will be better for the rest of the excursion.
Oh, sorry. Of course, 12:50. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an hour more. But but you could ask the students, because it would be better if they have time now for pairing up if they want lunch now. I don't know.
Can you put on the chat? Do you want lunch now?
Answer yes or no in the chat. No.
Okay, then we go on. That's good. I was very stressed when I looked at the watch on the computer, and I just saw 56 at the end, and I didn't see the hour. So I thought now we were really out of time. So okay, the first 7-1 here said no. So then we go on. Then you will now try to connect to your peer mate, discuss 3 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes about education for sustainable development. I'll show you again on the previous screen the groups here if you are not aware of who you are going to connect to. So we will see if this will work. Then I'll take for myself just 3 minutes break, so I take down the microphone.
Hallo. Ja da, veldig bra. Han bare muter nå.
Yeah, hello again. Now the PowerPoint is uploaded, so you are able to go in and look at the different tasks if you don't have it at the screen just at the moment. So hope everybody is now able to have connection with somebody, and that you Jakob, can you have a look at this question about one person? Yeah, but I can see now Eva Stashna or Radka Kubinova is not having somebody to work with. Can you two go together? Is Eva and Radka go together? Yeah, then we have solved that.
But then Martin B is probably losing a group, but you need to reach out in the chat then.
Martin B, can you hear us? Okay, we will wait until he shows up to what to do with him. This is the first time with the group mates, so we let it go for 2 more minutes, and then you can try to put the key, one keyword from each pair on the chat. Okay, now I'm waiting for some important moments. And after I've got your input, we will go through some models for how to think about education for sustainable development. Some of it is maybe repetition, some of it might be some new ways of thinking of this broad field of of teacher education. And not only teacher education, education at all. Yeah, no wise important moments from you. It's quite silent. Including students into the debate of sustainable development, playing a role in the society and decision making. Give an overview that this is our future. Motivate to act. Give an idea that all are connected to each other. You create connection to nature from young age of students. Share about human impact on the environment, yeah. And students must be personally engaged in what they are learning and be empowered to try to find solutions. You are very clever. This is just into the main points of the theoretical models that I will show you just in some seconds. I think maybe, Jakob, we are not showing what you are writing now, but you could put it together and we upload it on Teams afterwards.
Yes.
So also the first one that you were writing down from the first thinking task, we put it on Teams.
Yes.
Okay, then you can. Those of you that have not answered here, just keep going, writing keywords in here. Issues become more tangible and discuss problems more relatable and real. Yeah, I am really. But I'll now carefully go into some of the models, and then you can keep on writing keywords there. Here is a real big list of things coming up here. I can't read that at the moment, but we will look at afterwards. Before I show you some models for education for sustainable development, maybe we should look at what is a model and what is not a model. The first, I take the second first. A model is not the whole truth. If you think that you can give a picture of the whole truth through the model, you will fail. Through the models, you only show pieces of the real world that should help you to explain the real world. And then you can have a lot of different types of models. Some of you remember from your own school time, the classical model of the sun with the our planet and with the moon and everything turning around each other, and you could turn on the handle and you have a light giving an illusion of the sunshine, and then you could see that it's dark on the back of the moon and so on. So that is traditional physical models. Then you could have mathematical models. I think all of you have seen in your textbooks some sort of mathematical models. And then you have all these illustration models on papers, sort of conceptual models. And then at the bottom of this picture, it's all these new types of virtual models. You could make the physical models into 3D. You could make the conceptual models, which normally was on a paper in 2 dimensions. You could make that into a 3-dimensional model. So you see the conceptual and the physical models, they are narrowing each other. So this is about, in general, about models. It's also a division in the middle here I normally use between demonstration models and functioning models. A typical example there is if you have a model of your eye, you can play with it and pick it together, look at the different parts of the eye, the lens, the retina, and the nerve. But then you have, at our department, we have a very nice functional models where we show how the eye is working if you are very narrow-sighted or long-distance sighted, and you could put lenses on the model, and you could change the curve of the lens by pressing some water into a small water balloon, and then show on the backside how you can see a letter sharp or unsharp. So that's an example of a functioning eye model, sort of opposite to the just demonstrating model, how the eye is built up. Models for education for development, sustainable development. It could be a model dividing this into economy, social, nature, well-being, what we call the environmental compass. I'll show you that. I'll also show you the environmental staircase, and there are also some other models. All of them based on the UN's decade for education for sustainable development, which was going on from 2006 to 2016. This we will not go through. I just put it in here so you can look at this. It's from some UN papers. So do we just skip this now? Looking at the sustainability compass, if you're going to teach this stuff, it's very important that you touch not only the science piece, because the science piece, which is here named nature, it is in very strong interaction with the economy, with the society. And then it's important to give the children hope. We are not going to move into the Stone Age caves. We are going to have electricity. They are going to have their toys, and they are going to live in a house, hopefully with not too cold. So we are still going to have the healthcare. We are going to have good well-being, but maybe in the future we don't need that many new things every year. Maybe we could use our phone for 3 years instead of 2 years, the car for some years more than we used to, and through that we could decrease the use of nature resources, and that would be one piece of this huge work we have to do to take care of our planet. So this is one model. Another model we used quite a lot in Denmark, Norway, is the environmental staircase. Some of my colleagues think this is out of date because they say that you are not on the top of the stair and could stay there. But of course, this is a sort of circular staircase. You are not fully educated, even if you are able to take some wise decisions. You start at the bottom with teaching students to be fond of the nature, discover the nature, learn about it, and you try to learn them to put all the pieces together to understand the ecology, understand the interaction between man and nature. And then we hope that they will take responsibility and be able to take good decisions when they are going to be grown-up citizens. So this is the idea of the environmental staircase, but of course this should be a sort of circle. You learn still, I still learn about the species, I still learn about the systems of the nature, and I am not able at the moment to take good decisions all the time. So as a sort of improving, some researchers has made this circular model, which has a lot of the moments from the staircase model. So I'm not going into this into detail, but this is published by some Norwegians, Jekstad and Sinnes, in 2015, where the scientific content knowledge is in the middle, and how you live with as a citizen, thinking about the sustainability and education for sustainable development is on the outer circle. And in between here, you have a lot of the same moments as in the other model. So as a sum up of this more theoretical part, we have been now working with organizing the field courses before, during, after. We have been looking at the value of outdoor learning, and we have looked at the important part of education for sustainable development based on the UN's decade of education for sustainable development from 2006 to 2016, and some models to handle this stuff. One more model which is more general that I want to give you before we leave this. Can some of you think about which type of model is this? During today and tomorrow, we are going to sit in front of the screen instead of the bus. We are going to look at the VR glasses, explore the nature, etc. You're going to participate and hopefully engage. And you're going to listen, talk, and try to explain to each other. And you're going to have fun, learn, elaborate, and at the end we will evaluate the whole thing. Which model is this? If some of you is very quick up with the answer on the text box, I wait, or I'll go into the answer. 1 minute just to try to find out which model is this. It's very much used in science didactics. But Corona model, that's a good answer. Thank you, Maria. I'll give you the answer now. We call it the E5 model. It has been both E4, E6, but it's an instructional model, quite old, based back to 1997. But it involves engage, explore, elaborate, evaluate, and in Norwegian we just call it the 5E model. Okay, we have now done some pre-work here. You have looked at the story map in front, I hope. We have had some preparation now. Then we now are going into and doing the excursion. Look, listen, talk, solve tasks, and be inspired. And we will do some post-work. You are hopefully ending up with a small Google expedition yourself. So we will try to use the principles of pre-work, during, and after work also through this session. The inquiry part of a field excursion is in Norwegian school quite deeply incorporated into the curriculum. Already in 2006, we got the concept of buddy scientist or research sprout, which should, the curriculum said, interfere with all the learning outcomes. It has not, so in the new curriculum coming this autumn 2020, this buddy scientists and inquiry-based learning principles, they are now more integrated into the learning outcomes of the whole curriculum, not only in science, but also in the other subjects in the school. During these tasks of the VR Tauta trip, you are going to investigate things, take pictures. You can't do it with your phone, but take screenshots or pick photos from internet, or by taking, you can do it in different ways, but you can dump down pieces of what we are showing. So that is the part of taking pictures, and you have help of the field booklet, which is now also on the Teams file, what we call it, file tab on the Teams. We show you there some selected actual species and some other help for your field trip. So the practical information, we will now still working your peer groups, cross-national, and then the peer groups are put together in an ABC 10 persons, approximately 10-person group. So some of the tasks you are going to share in the big groups, and Magne, which is now with us. Maybe Magne, you could say hello, put on your camera and your microphone if you're here to show the students that you are here.
Yes. Oh.
I'll take down my screen for a moment.
Do you see me and hear me, possibly?
Now we see you also.
Is there any sound?
Yes.
Yes, okay, fine.
Yeah, can you just say one minute about yourself and what you're doing these days?
Well, these days I'm doing a lot of things on my computer, sitting around all day, and now I'm listening to you. So I'm looking forward to this virtual field trip and virtual birds and plant hunt. So that's so far. Personally, I'm a botanist of some years ago, but trying to maintain the plant knowledge. Okay.
And we really appreciate having Magne here because he is not only a skilled botanist, he knows quite a lot about birds and insects also. So I think he will be a very positive contribution to the groups. So thank you for being here, Magne. Okay, that was the practical information now. The references are into, I'll show you the screen for the last time now. At the end here is the references to what I've talked about now, and then Jakob will take the scene for the trip now from Værnes Airport to Tautra with the Google Expedition. But maybe we should take some small 5 minutes break. So be back here by 12:30 sharp, and we will go for a 20-25 minutes trip from the airport to Tautra, and then you will have lunch for an hour at least. We will guarantee you 1 hour lunch. See you in 5 minutes. Yeah, are you ready, Jakob?
Yes.
Okay, then we start in 1 minute. This will be a little bit exciting because it will be a cooperating. Jakob will be running the VR expedition and I'll try to make the guiding. So we will see how the cooperation will work. We now see a paper of ocean and coastal management, Jakob.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
So now we will first do an expedition in a quite guided way, where we are taking the bus trip we are landing on Værnes. I'll have 1 more minute before I start up, so we are sure that everyone is ready. And then afterwards, you will be able to work on this yourself, also with the VR glasses. Yeah. So you'll not go through all the points of interest that is now in the Google expedition, but we'll make a little introduction.
And if you want to follow the trip on a map, it is a map of the area and a detailed map of the Tautra area in the field booklet, which is now on the Teams file tab.
And this Google expedition is also quite working around the same spots as the story map that was sent out before the weekend, if you have had time for having a look at that one. So that was kind of a pre-work to this one. So it's maybe feels a little bit like a recapitulation, but it's also for being as we would like the preparation and main field course done in schools. Okay, then I think I start up. This is our wonderful airport. Yeah, then it's yours to speak now, Jardar.
But I see the only coastal management for still.
Oh, really? Sorry. That was not my intention. What about now?
No, just seeing you. Yeah, now we are.
We're there.
Okay, welcome to Trondheim Airport, Værnes. We are now approaching for landing, and I hope you have had a nice flight. The weather is not like as you see on this picture. As you heard this morning, it's just real snowy. It has been chaotic on the roads. My wife was going to the mountains today, and she still need the winter tires with the studs, and it's really winter. So yeah, here is a more green picture of the airport, and now we move. With the main road to the north, passing. And if Jakob shows us now, we're passing a very, very small island with a castle on. This castle was the residence of the last Archbishop of Norway, and he had to escape in 1536 when the Reformation also came to Norway. So this was his last residence before he, by boat, escaped to Denmark to get away from the Protestantic new church heads. It's a very nice place. They used to have a music theater here every year for some years, but it has been some interaction with the historical management authorities being afraid of damaging the castle, and then the economy for a big music theater was not so nice. So I think now it's 2 years since it has been a sort of music theater here. We followed the road, the main road around the fjord, so you can see now we can look across to Frosta, but we have to go into the bottom of the fjord and then out on the other side. So we go in a sort of half circle.
So the airport is over here now, and also Trondheim out the fjord. But now they have some tasks, don't they, in the field booklet?
Yeah, if you look in the field booklet, you can see there are a task now in the field booklet connected to Stenvik-Solmen.
We understand that it is a little bit, if you have one screen, it could be hard to use everything at the same time. So we give you a couple of minutes now to find the field booklet and get in contact with your pair mate if you have managed to get contact. If not, you can also do these tasks alone. It's not a crisis. It's first after lunch that we really need the groups. But it would be very nice if you could discuss a little bit.
The plan was that if you had the possibility, you could have an open channel on the phone, just discussing when we are shutting our mouths for a couple of seconds before going on. It's like sitting on the bus where I was talking a lot of the time. Okay, the bus is rolling on, so I think this was just a sort of pre-task. So Jakob,
could we just ask if someone have problems of getting up the field booklet? Do everyone have the field booklet? Have you found it? Do not answer if you have it. That will just be too many messages. But if you do not have it, ask for a minute more.
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, it is in the where all the documents are in Teams under files.
You have to click on the team symbol to the left. Then you will have just a very small picture of the expedition that Jakob is showing, and then you go into the tab called Files. On the top of the screen now you have files, you have notebook, tasks, and so on, but it's in the tab called Files, and then in that tab there is
a file called Field Booklet 2020.
Yeah, where is it here now, Jakob? Yeah, Field Booklet 2020 just in the middle of the files in the tab files. It's a PDF file. Jakob, bare en kort melding til deg fra Magne her. A short message to Jakob in Norwegian. Magne sier at den PDF-fila, den er en kommentert Word-fil, er ikke den ferdige PDF-en.
Nei. Seriøst?
Sorry, Jakob will put in a new field booklet file very quick. So I think we don't have time to make stops. The bus is running. So I think we go on, Jakob, if you show the next then, and Jakob will fix the PDF while I'm talking about the next point of interest here. When we go on the road from Tautra, from the airport, after passing this small island with the castle Stenvik-Solmen, we pass the just inner part of the fjord. You see here on the opposite of the road, you see a small sign, which is a point of interest that you can look at in your own Google expedition later. But this was the anchor place of the really huge battleship Tirpitz during the Second World War. So they put the battleship Tirpitz in here, and the Englishmen tried several times to bomb it. So because of that, they put smoke cannons on the hills. It was wires in the water to stop submarines. It was wire in the air to stop the aircrafts. And still they have found in a similar place in the northern part of Norway where the tirpitz was after being here. They have found damage on the trees because of this poisoning smoke that was used to cover the tirpitz. They still can find signs of this smoke on the forest in the area. I don't know if they've tested this here in Åsenfjord, near Værnes Airport, but in the northern part of Norway they found things like this. So Jakob, if you just go on now, we skipped the task about the tirpitz. Now we are just going around here. Jakob, can you stop the auto swiping and bring us further north? We are going to a place called Åsen. Here Jakob shows a historical picture of where the tirpitz was laying.
Yes, I will also place the document directly in the chat as some asked for here now. And it's also a new version of the field booklet out. But you will have time for work with this later on also.
Yeah. So I think we don't use very much time now on these tasks and the booklet because it's running for lunch in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So you will have time during, I think we will give you 5 more minutes for lunch to be able to pick up the booklet and prepare for the tasks after lunch. But now we have turned out the Peninsulia against the Peninsulia Frosta, which is it is called the greenhouse of Trondheim. We are now just opposite where the small castle Stenviksholmen was. So we are now looking to the south against the airport and Trondheim city. If Jakob is swiping a little bit to the right, we can see Trondheim city across the fjord. It's just in the horizon in the right part of the picture now we have Trondheim city, and as you can see here, Frosta is a huge agricultural land with a big watering irrigation system. Normally we used to have the manager of the water board at the municipal office to talk a little bit in the bus about the watering system. We didn't manage to make a phone interview with him. We had a plan of that, so we could tell you a bit about the watering system, because compared to, for example, Malta, with its using even salt water for drinking, taking out the salt, and eastern part of Czech with a very low groundwater, very dry area. This part of Norway is really crazy because the lake giving water for the irrigation here, it is a lake that could have supplied a city of 50,000 inhabitants. But here at Frosta, they use this really clean drinking water for irrigation of the agricultural land. So during the summertime, you see these irrigation systems, these showers standing all over the crops. They have a system, half of the farmers, they watering Monday, the other half on Tuesday, and then the first part on Wednesday, because they are watering so hard that the pressure is going down if all the farmers are watering the same day. But you could have supported 50,000 persons with drinking water from this lake, which is now just used for watering the agricultural land. Okay, Frosta is a very historical part of Norway. If we now, Jakob is trying to land close to the real historical part. This is called Tinghaugen. It's the hill where the old parliament in Norway was called Ting. At Iceland, you have this similar word, Ting. It is nearly the same word as a thing in English, but it means some other thing. It's the Parliament Hill. but the pronunciation in Icelandic language is more like the English thing. But you use an old letter which is now not used in Norwegian for spelling this thing at Iceland. And that is because the Iceland people came from Norway, moving in the Viking time by the Viking ships across the North Sea to settle on Iceland. But this small Tinghaug here at Frosta is not the real old one. This is made as a symbol of the old Parliament hill, where all the farmers from the counties around Frosta, they were coming by boat here, meeting here, and they were judging people, making the laws. And Frosta was one of the law areas of Norway. Originally, you didn't have a common law from the whole Norway. It was a law for different parts, and the Frosta law was a quite old law working for this whole area around the fjord here. Close to the Tinghaugen, we will see an old church, nearly from the Viking time. It's from the late Viking time. Jakob, can you show us the Loktu church? Yeah, it's an old stone church. Normally we walk in with the students, and I have not asked, but I have taken me the privilege to borrow or use the organ in the church. So we have used to sing a Norwegian song with the organ accompanying, or just I played a small tune on the organ because I knew where the switch to the organ is. But this is a very nice old church used for weddings during the summer, being just closed the whole winter time. But it has a quite big symbol effect in Norway, and all the new kings from the last 100 years, they have always visited this place and this church after being crowned as a king of Norway. So with this old historical hill and the church, this is a really historical part of Norway. After passing this historical part, we nearly come to the end of this peninsula. And at that place, we usually look at some rock carvings. You see here, it's a rock carving of a boat, nearly 5,000 years old, from about 3,000 before Christ. You see here also a reindeer, a really nice rock carvings. And what is also nice that we will connect this to the theories of land rising in Norway after the glacier. Jakob will talk a little bit more about that later, but this is a nice place because when these rock carvings were painted and hammered into the rock, this part of Frosta was an island, because after this was painted, the land was growing even some more meters, and it's now connected land to this place where the rock carvings is. So one of the trips tomorrow or later in this week will be to a part close to Trondheim, where we will have a look around us and look how the land rise was going on after the glaciers in Norway. In fact, it's 180 meters going up after the last glacier 10,000 years ago. Do you want to make a supplement?
We'll speak more about it. We'll speak more about this later, but it is about this, what is called the isostatic rebound, and we will also see that what is very nice agricultural land over here. I will show some Google Earth and some satellite photos where we will see that the marine areas is nearly the only areas in Norway where it is fertile soil for growing due to the marine sedimentations. So this has really been underwater for just some few thousand years ago.
Okay, then
should we go to the next?
Yeah, then you see now. We're now driving nearly to the end point of Frosta, and there you have a road now, Molo causeway going across the from Frosta and to Tautra. And later today you will see some small 360 films that I made just some few days ago, going through some of the excursions that you should have done on Tautra. But here you see the causeway, and if Jakob turns around now, we see Frosta, and then we can see against the island Tautra. Here you see this island Tautra. It's not very many meters above sea level, so you see the hills behind, but the small flat land, Jakob is pointing at it, the flat land down from the hills is the very, very low island Tautra. This causeway is interesting because in the middle of 1970s, they had a political person on Tautra that was very keen on building this bridge because all the farmers, that are quite many farmers out there delivering milk, they had to use a small boat across to Frosta every morning. So every morning the milk boat was going, and then back again with all the stuff they needed for the shop there. But this political person, he was very, what we called, he had a lot of acting power. So he managed to build this road, but it was cheaper to build it like a causeway and not a bridge. So all the naturalists and environmental protecting NGOs, they lost the fight about building a bridge. And because of building this causeway, you stopped the very strong tide stream between Frosta and the island Tautra. And the very short version of this was that all the blue mussels disappeared from the stream. You got a lot of new green algae growing up there. You lost the food for the ducks, especially the common eider. Do you have a picture of the common eider, Jakob? Or not? Yeah, here we have the common eider, and as you can see here, it's also a gateway to stop the mammals going to Tautra. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but here you see the gateway, and you have the possibility to close this between every car, because one of the other big problems was the mammals walking on the causeway out to the island. Before the causeway, it was no foxes out there, no big mammals. So the nests of the ducks, they were very hard predated after the causeway came. So then after some years, I think it was nearly after 20 years, they managed to get money to build a bridge in the middle. So now it's a bridge, and we have opened this tide stream again, and some of the common eider ducks are back. So that was the very, very, very short version of this. So I think now we are very quick going to lunch.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit overview of where we have now traveled, Trondheim is over here. Frosta is where I'm pointing now. The last drone picture we were looking at was up here, and the rock carvings out here. This was this old island of that was an island when the sea was standing higher, or the land was lower, you could say. And the airport is below this mountain. So we have traveled around the fjord, and we are now approaching Tautra. That is mostly made as an old moraine, made by old moraine deposits from one of the periods when the ice sheet pulled back into the central Scandinavia. But in this period, it was some short periods where it was colder and the ice were standing for some hundred of years or thousand years. And then it was possible for accumulation of moraines in the front of the glacier again. So then I think we are approaching the last step, and this is where you will do the beach investigation yourself, and you will also have time to go through some of the questions in the field booklet just after lunch. I will place this virtual reality tour in the in the chat right now. And before we go to lunch, I would also try to share my screen from my phone, so I could just show you how you can use it on your phone to actually look around you and also go into the VR mode for those of you that haven't done that. So just give me 1 minute to try to share the screen from my phone.
So I think the task during the lunch, it's a very easy task, is to download the booklet. So you have the field booklet, and also be sure that you're able to connect to your peer mate for group working. The big group working in the ABC group will be set up by us. So don't worry about that.
Okay, so sorry. So you could either explore it on the screen as we have done now, or you could, let me see. Now when I'm moving around with my phone, then I'm moving around. If I go to full mode in upper right corner, it's filling my whole screen. And then you could press the turning arrow of also upper right corner. Then you're using your finger instead to look around you. And you could press the points of interest, for example, this one. And it's the same if you go into virtual reality mode, it's the goggles, it also upper right corner. Let me try. Enter VR mode. And here it's also some sound some places. And you would have to turn the sound on. Just let me see if this works now, transferring. I think it's hard for the network. Okay, yeah, but it's the goggles in upper right corner. Then we'll get into VR mode. And just the last thing before lunch is the adjustment for the sound. That's the tannhjul, I don't know, hair. There you could turn on area sound, and then you will hear Jardar speak on some of the spots. So I'll try once more here. Yeah, there it works. So then you get into the virtual reality mode. And you could look around you. Okay. Is it any questions in the chat before we go for lunch?
Or some message from Jirka? It's silent from Jirka. Do you have some messages to students before we take lunch, Jirka? It's completely silence. No message. Yeah, Jirka is writing here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and no questions.
Can you give the URL for the tour, Paul asks, Jakob?
Yes, it's coming right away.
Yeah,
and for all of you, I've also uploaded a Word document with all the URLs that we'll use during the field excursion after lunch. Please don't start to look at the URLs in the bottom, because it's kind of a hierarchy of the films, of the 360 films. So we'll come back after lunch, and then we will guide you through it.
Yeah, if you, Anna asks here if there will be time after lunch, yeah, we will really be working with these films after lunch. So just try maybe want to see that you can manage the technology, but you don't need to use the lunchtime to sit and look at everything. No, not at all. Okay, have a nice lunch and thank you for being here so far.